Imagine this. Centuries ago, it wasn't just sapphires, gems, gold, or artifacts that colonial powers seized. Sometimes they took something far more personal. Human skulls. Yes, you heard that right. Skulls, not just any skulls, but the skulls of heroes who dared to resist them and even those they considered curiosities. Today we dive into one of the most unsettling yet fascinating stories of colonial history. A tale of rebellion, resilience, and the strange story of a Sri Lankan hero's skull that was looted, shipped off to Britain, and displayed as a scientific curiosity for more than a century. Who was this hero, and why was his skull taken thousands of miles away to Britain? And what does this bizarre chapter reveal about colonial arrogance and the enduring fight of a nation to reclaim its identity? Stay with me as you're about to uncover a story that will leave you both shocked and inspired. Our story begins in October 1818, amidst the Uwavellassa rebellion, a bold uprising against the British by the Kandyan people. Leading the charge was Keppetipola, a high-ranking chieftain of the erstwhile Kandyan kingdom, renowned for his courage and unwavering determination. Captured after months of resistance, Keppetipola was tried and sentenced to death by the British. But even in his final moments, he demonstrated the calmness and bravery that made him not just a man but a legend. On the day of his execution, Keppetipola carried his cherished Dhammapada, a Buddhist scripture. As the British prepared to sever his head, he began reciting verses from Dhammapada, his voice steady and unbroken. Then, in an act of extraordinary defiance, he turned to the executioner and demanded to be killed with a single stroke of the sword, a dignified death worthy of a warrior. But the executioner failed. It took 2 strokes to sever his head, a cruel fate for a leader of such stature. As his life ended, Keppetipola became more than a man. He became a symbol of defiance, courage, and resistance against colonial oppression. But his story didn't end there. It took an unexpected, almost bizarre twist. After his execution, something truly disturbing unfolded. Keppetipola was denied a proper funeral, and none of the customary Buddhist rites were observed. Instead, Henry Marshall, the chief surgeon of the Kandyan provinces, ironically a man who had befriended Keppetipola and even visited him when he was in prison, took the audacious step of claiming the fallen hero's skull. Why? Because of phrenology, a pseudoscience popular in the 19th century when European scientists were obsessed with studying skulls, hoping to find links between cranial features and personality traits like bravery or intelligence. Marshall sent Keppetipola skull to the Edinburgh Phrenological Society, thousands of miles away, where scientists try to understand how a man from what they considered an inferior race could display such unparalleled courage. For 130 years, can you imagine, Keppetipola's skull remained in Edinburgh, far from home, kept as a grim colonial trophy and as a symbol of imperial arrogance. But as Sri Lanka approached independence in the 1940s, calls for the return of stolen relics began to grow louder. Besides government officials, students from Vidyalankara Pirivena, Sri Lanka's largest Buddhist monastic college, made formal requests to bring the skull of Keppetipola back to Sri Lanka. And on February 9, 1948, just 5 days after Sri Lanka gained independence, the skull of Keppetipola was ceremoniously returned to Colombo, thanks to the intervention of Prince Henry, the Duke of Gloucester, brother of King George VI, who was the head of state and monarch of independent Ceylon. The skull was initially displayed at the Colombo National Museum, where, according to Ceylon Observer, it was declared a national relic and hailed by the people of our country as a powerful symbol of Sri Lanka's newfound freedom. But this wasn't the final chapter. Later, under the guidance of Prime Minister Sir John Kothalavala, the skull was transported on a gun carriage to Kandy in a grand procession with full military honors. On November 26, 1954, it was ceremoniously interred in a memorial at the Kandy Esplanade, opposite the Temple of Truth, the Dalada Maligawa. Since then, November 26th has been celebrated as Keppetipola Commemoration Day, a day to honor his sacrifice and legacy. In a historic turn of events, the government of Sri Lanka also overturned the 1818 decree that had branded him and 18 others as traitors. Today, they are officially recognized as national heroes. Keppetipola's skull wasn't the only human relic taken from Sri Lanka. In 2019, the University of Edinburgh returned 9 skulls of the island's indigenous Vetta people. These skulls had also been stolen and studied as curiosities, a grim reminder of the dehumanizing practices of colonial powers. Keppetipola Tisara's story is more than a tale of rebellion. It's a reminder of the resilience of a nation determined to reclaim its dignity. From colonial theft to national pride, his journey continues to inspire us. What do you think about Keppetipola Tisara's legacy? And how should we, as Sri Lankans, approach the return of stolen relics from colonial powers? Share your thoughts in the comments below and don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell icon for more untold stories from history. Until next time, this is me, Zamir Karim, signing off. Let's continue exploring the stories that make history come alive.